this is what I mean with Tottenham. For every signing of Mickey van der Ven, we then go and sign Timo Werner. That absolutely divides the fan base. I know Mickey van der Ven, again, you could have argued that. I think we're all surprised by his rapid progression and how quickly he's grown into becoming a first starter with Tottenham. But ultimately, the thing with Tottenham is, let's be honest about it, you look at the signs that they made, this summer just gone. Manos Solomon on a free. We haven't seen the bloke since September. Timo Werner, no disrespect to him. We've got a forward there that can't finish. I mean, you're looking at Tottenham going into the game at the weekend against Arsenal. We line up with a forward line, and I love Kulusevski. And I know he's, again, inconsistent player that gets judged with a fan base, but you had a forward line with Werner, Kulusevski and Son. Sonny playing as a number 9 with his back to goal. I just don't think works. And you've got two guys that their form in front of goal is not good enough. And that's the concern going into a derby. And you're deploying Højbjerg in there as your number 6 because, let's be honest about it, Højbjerg wasn't going to play many games this season because Andrew's already decided in his mind he's not right for me long term, and Højbjerg also want to be here. But that's what we've got to now because, like Lee said, Basuma's form has dropped off a cliff from the first 10 games. So I totally agree with what Lee was saying there. It's not all Andrew's fault. And I think a massive part of it is down to really what the board are going to give him this summer. Are they going to give him ready-made players that are going to slot in and improve the first 11? Or are we going to get squad-based players like Timo Werner and Manos Solomon that arguably, let's be honest about it, wouldn't get into any other top 3, top 4 side that have a genuine aspiration of the title? And the thing with Ange now, Benny, is that he has come out and said, I want to compete for the title next season, which I think is really interesting then when you're going to see the kind of players Spurs are going to be looking in the summer. Are there going to be players that we're going to look at as fans and think, do you know what, like Declan Rice was for Arsenal, that guy's going to take us to a league title? Or are they going to be squad-based players that are just going to play their part but not be first-team players?
I think that's a really interesting point. Just on that, when you're building a team, you don't need 12, 15, 1,600 million pound players. And again, looking at Arsenal, because you keep going back to Declan Rice, game changer, whatever, fantastic stuff. But they did sign Martinelli, right? Who's been good about. They did sign Trossard for not much money, who's been brilliant for them. They did sign other players in and around areas that aren't these multi-million pound players, just like we've done as well. I think, I'm with Amir. I don't care if you spend 5 million or 500 million. We never spend that. You'll never see that either on a player. But the reality is we need players that want to come in. It would be very interesting to see how we look at our back 5, essentially. So Vicario, Van der Ven, Romero, Porro, Destiny. I don't think anyone's changing any of them. Yet we've got one of the worst defensive records in the Premier League.
It's the midfield league. It's the midfield.
Right? 52 conceded.
So where we need to really focus on is that key number 6 that we've all talked about, and the left wing, Andor, and number 9. Because I say Andor, there's no point getting a world-class left winger if you're going to put Sonny still out there, because you're now getting a number 9. And Sonny can't play a number 9 back to goal type scenario in most of these teams. If you look at all the teams that we've struggled against, and Arsenal fans won't care that I'm saying this because they've beaten us, but you could say that they were defensively backs against the wall at certain times. You could say that the possession suggests that they were parking the bus to a certain degree.
Lee, they came to Tottenham and parked the bus. That's exactly what they did.
The game was done at 3-0, wasn't it? The game was done at 3-0. It was done. Yeah, it was done. And
so you look at Newcastle. They parked the bus and played on the break. Right, you look at all of the teams that we struggled against to break down. When you watch City sometimes and they struggle to break these teams down, they don't ever get any criticism because they're sitting and this and that. But they play Crystal Palace and they sit behind the ball, and we struggled against Crystal Palace. Yeah, we beat them 2-1 when Ayew scored that volley. But we struggled to get them goals, and that was when we was in a good point of the season. Most of the teams, if you look, Wolves sat behind the ball, Newcastle sat behind the ball, even Arsenal sat behind the ball. They're all sitting behind the damn ball. So, and we're playing a number 9 up front who isn't his natural game, like somebody to hold up defensive set pieces. Have we missed Harry Kane defensively? You could argue with Richarlison, but Richarlison's been in and out of the team. So maybe defensively it's set pieces would be better if they was in the side. I mean, I don't think I've ever seen Sonny head the ball. Only maybe once when he scored against Burnley when it was a double header. It was a header from Kane to Son who scored, if you remember that goal. I just don't think he's ever... So, again, it's that personnel piece, isn't it? It's It's difficult to defend it, but it's difficult to criticise it when he hasn't had an opportunity to rectify it.
But, Ange has been speaking quite clearly about he wants to be in and amongst it next season, fighting at the top, fighting for a title next season, as I think Ricky mentioned before. Is that deluded from Ange, or do you think that with the right signings, we can actually get there? Because I actually don't think we're that far away from being... I don't think we're that far away. You look at Arsenal, before they started challenging for the title, they finished 5th. We beat them to 4th that year, the year before they started challenging for the league title.
And I actually think that's a good point. From Amir said earlier about, is it a blessing? I think the blessing in disguise for Arsenal is we beat them to the top 4 of that season. Because we wasn't ready for Champions League and kind of nor were they. And then look what's happened to them. And maybe that's our turn this year. Maybe not. Maybe I'm clutching at straws here, team.
Time will tell.
Exactly.
But if an Arsenal fan would have sat there at the end of that season when they finished 5th and we finished 4th, and they would have said, "Oh, you know what? We're going to challenge for the title next season," we would have all called them deluded, right? And if we sit here now and say we're going to challenge next season, everyone's going to call us deluded. But I think if we make the key additions in the front line, if we buy a monster number 6 for next season, maybe with some more defensive cover, which I don't think is unrealistic, I really think that we can make... I'm not saying we're going to go and win anything and go and win the title, but I definitely think we can win a cup. And I definitely think that we can be up there much closer to the top 3 than we are now. I think there's a bit of an echo or something, guys. I'm not sure who that's coming out of.
I'm muted, mate. I'm going to mute now, look.
I think it's Ricky. Did you hear what I said, though?
Yeah, mate, you were bang on. Yeah, we heard you, mate. Loud and clear, bud.
But do you agree with that? Do you agree? Do you think that it's a possibility that Spurs can be, fulfilling Ange's ambitions and fighting up there next season?
I'm the worst person to ask because I'm going to say yeah. I'm going to say of course, that's my nature. Sometimes it's good, sometimes it's bad, but I think so. I think with a few additions, it's where we're building to. Now, if you can get that team that was started this season so well, and this is coming back to putting out fires or tactically keep going. This is where we're going to be. This is where we're going to be ingrained in them. There's calls for Maddison to be dropped at the moment, and maybe the Celso to be given a chance, and that sort of thing for the next game. And actually, maybe they do need that. Maybe they do need to kind of see that freshen up. But I think that I can't go across this, certainly this first 11, maybe the first 13. I don't know what you think, Emil. I can't go across it and ultimately criticise any of the players really in it. You look at, Brennan Johnson's got loads of criticism, but he's done pretty well, to be fair, in his first season. Young guy. Pat Matasar, Destiny, Vicario, Van der Ven, Romero, Porro. Porro's got 8 assists or whatever it is as a right back. This is not a bad season. And, that's the midfield, but Maddison was good. You look at Son, scored 16 goals, 9 assists, or whatever he's got. It's not a bad return. We lost our best ever striker. We didn't lose him, by the way. I want to say that the board sanctioned a sale. The board sanctioned a sale for our best ever striker. Imagine having a guy up top that scored 30 goals a season in this Ange Postecoglou team, as an example. We're crying out for a world-class number 9. We had one. But the board thought, you know what, we're taking the money.
Yeah. It's not just take the money as well. Kane didn't want to sign that contract. He lost hope that Spurs are going in the right direction because of the board. The board lacked ambition, and Harry Kane isn't deserving of a club that lacks ambition, and he wanted to leave the club. If he didn't leave this summer, he would have left this current summer coming up on a free transfer. So I think the board have pretty much blood on their hands for Harry Kane leaving this football club. This guy is a Tottenham boy, come through the academy, our highest ever goal scorer, and he's left the club because we lack ambition. Like, how is that ever going to be good enough?
I've never replaced him.
I never replaced him.
And you've got a manager now who says he wants to win leagues.
Yeah.
This is what I mean, though. I think it's a good thing now, into some degree. Whatever you think about Ange, I've always been of the mindset, I'll be honest with you boys, that when you go and burn Mourinho and Conte, 2 of the biggest managers in the world football, and they didn't get the funds, I was thinking to myself, well, why would they give the funds to Ange Postecoglou? The only thing I would say is on that point now is that you've got a manager in Ange that said, I want to win the title here. So the reality is now what he has done, whether doing it purposely or not purposely, he's actually put the pressure now back on the board because he's told them his ambition. He's told us his ambition. So ultimately, if his ambition next season to compete for the league, you're going to know very, very quickly, based on the targets and the players that Spurs bring in, if those players, in our eyes, are good enough to genuinely challenge for a league. Because what I would say is that, look, I know Maddison's off form right now, but when Maddison was signed in the summer, I know so many Spurs fans that were buzzing about Maddison. This guy is a first team that's going to walk in and change the place. And to be fair, look, let's be honest about it. On losing Harry Kane, James Maddison came in, filled that void, took that shirt. Certainly in 10, 15 games was brilliant up until his injury. We need to get that James Maddison back. And I mean, Leicester fans say that it's a slow process after injury. We can't be one off James Maddison long term because of the fact that he's had an injury. James Maddison has shown he's brilliant at times, and he'll come. He'll definitely come back. He will. But the reality is that Spurs, in my opinion, need to show us as fans they are serious this summer.
Just on that winning the league, though. Sorry, Ben. Just quickly, just on that, challenging for the league or trying to win the league. I just want to give you some statistics, if I can, from Arsenal actually. Which is
bring up the stats, Lee. Come on.
Bring them out, right? Because the reality is, one of my best mates is an Arsenal fan, which has been painful for the last few days. But he actually sent me these stats before the North London derby. And Arsenal's away results in 2024, right? In the calendar year of 2024, they've scored 24 goals and conceded 1. That was obviously before the North London derby. And if you put that into context, they're probably not going to win the league. So just think about that at the moment, right? Arsenal are brilliant for them. They are very, very good. They've gone away. Their away results have been virtually flawless before the North London derby, only conceded 1 goal in 2024. And they're probably going to lose the title to Man City. It is seriously difficult to win the Premier League. See where I'm coming from, lads? So I just think there needs to. I'm not trying to be less ambitious. Believe you me, if you know me personally, you know how ambitious I am. But you've got to put some context around what we're trying to catch here. And I'm not trying to make excuses for anything, but we're trying to catch some serious juggernauts in this league, and that's hard, and that's why it's frustrating.
But there's no reason, with the way Arsenal built up with Arteta, 8th, 5th, 2 league title challenges in a row. There is no reason why we can't do that ourselves. There really isn't.
We did it under Poch. People forgetting that, weren't they?
Yeah, Lee, we did do it under Poch, but the competition was a bit different then than what it is now. Liverpool and Klopp and Pep Guardiola were just starting out. They didn't have their fully formed teams. We were going against the Chelsea Conte team. I get that.
Do you know what I mean?
Ten Hag ain't in the conversation, Lee.
Yeah, no. But do you see where I'm coming from? Do you know what I mean? Newcastle in still state of flux. There is opportunity. I'm not saying there isn't. Believe you me, I think we can challenge. I agree with you. But it is extremely difficult. Now, for us to throw our toys out of our pram, not all of us, but, when we get frustrated, of course we're frustrated. But if we don't win the league, we haven't won the league since 1961, for crying out loud. I mean, come on, something has to change. But we are chasing absolute juggernauts, and it's tough. And that's what's frustrating about it. Again, it comes back to my point at the beginning. We haven't won anything for so long, 16 years, 24 years under this ownership. And the ship hasn't been steered to win stuff. It's been steered to have longevity of cash and to get the top 4. And that's what we're frustrated with.
What I would say, though, to what you guys were saying... Sorry, Lee. What I would say to what you guys were saying before in terms of the calibre of players that we need to bring in this summer and maybe the calibre of player that we brought in the past, I would say that since Paratici has come in, I have been massively happy with the calibre of player coming into this club. Look at the starting lineup we have now. Vicario, we're all happy with him. Romero, Van de Ven, we're all happy with them. Porro, Udogie, we're happy. Maddison, we're happy. A lot of these players that have come in have been of the required ability we need to kick on this football club. So what I would say, if we carry on of that ilk and we bring in, if we have a similar transfer window to last summer that we have this summer, and we bring in specifically targeted players in the positions that we need of that caliber, I do think we'll be all right and be onto a good thing. And
just on that was quite interesting. Hey, Ben, just on that, quite interesting. You stopped short of naming the forward line, and I thought that was quite interesting because one of the things that Ange Postecoglou has said every single press conference that you listen to is we're still not ready in our forward line. We've still got miles to improve in our forward line. And actually, and although we've conceded all these goals in the back, I don't think any of us would change the defence or the goalkeeper. A bit of midfield, as you said, but the forward line is the issue. If you're creating these chances, I haven't seen enough this year of this kind of hashtag Ange ball where we're going to absolutely rinse teams for 96 minutes and we never stop. I haven't actually seen that in terms of attempts on goal. On average, under Conte in his first 6-7 months, we were doing 7 shots on target under Conte's management. The average is about 4 in the last 30 games for Spurs. That's not enough. When you go and see Klopp's teams, Liverpool teams, their average on target's 9-10 a game. That's how you're winning football matches. Does that make sense? So I just 100%. Think that it comes back to them certain areas. He's saying that I need to get that bit right before I even worry about the defence. Whether or not we think that's right or wrong, or if that only time will tell, but that's what he wants to get right. And if he gets that right, it won't matter if you concede 2. I think the key part of what he's saying is it's not about conceding 2, it's about not conceding because we're defending from the front. And even Arteta come out and said in his press conference after winning on the weekend, we couldn't handle their press. They couldn't handle Tottenham's press. So there is certain things that are happening well. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah. So I think it's safe to say, like, if we get a top midfielder in and a couple of attackers in for next season, I think you'll see Ange will flourish 100% next season, even with the tactics being.
And Ben, can I ask for can we have a set piece coach? Is it
100%? 100%.
Work with them, but I mean, look, hopefully a part of that evolvement and that adaptation is also recognising where you've got deficiencies and weaknesses. And I hate to say it and bring those up down the road and again, and Mac was saying it earlier, that you've got a manager there that has actually gone and poached someone off City, and before that at Brentford, that has contributed in 16 goals from set pieces for them. That's massive for a season. Why? Again, if we're looking at anything in life about evolving, going to the next level, you've got to look at where you can get wins from. Arsenal have got themselves a set piece coach that has improved them. They've got 16 plus. They've got a huge amount of goals this season.
23.
Glorified Burnley, mate. Glorified Burnley.
Listen, I mean, again, you get your advantage.
Bolton under Sam Allardyce.
You know what I mean? Mikel Arteta is just Sam Allardyce if you give him money.
God, take how far they've gone this season in terms of pushing a team all the way. And I know it's not about them. But listen, again, like you said there, Ben, I agree with you. We've got a really good nucleus of a squad. That's why everyone talks about a project and a transition. We're not too far off. I know people will laugh at me for saying this, rival fans, and will maybe clip me on it. We're not too far off. We're 3 or 4 decent players away from genuinely, in my opinion, challenging if the manager can adapt slightly and tweak his system. We're not that far off. We're not. That's what the frustration is. We've been that close on so many occasions under Maurizio's tenure. We've just need that bit more. Will the board go and do that? Will they show that ambition that the fans want? We're desperate, as Lee says. We're desperate for trophies. We're desperate for something to give us hope. We need it.
It's time to kick on, boys. It's time to kick on this summer.